Hey, welcome back to Jay Creates. I am Jay, and today we're going to be creating this flute stand, flute display. So it can be for any flute that has the bore hole at the bottom, which is probably all of them, but specifically I'm making this for my better half who plays the Native American style flute. So she's starting to collect a few different ones, different keys, different style of wood, and all sorts of stuff. So I thought I'd make her a display stand. I'm not sure I'm going to go with this finished design. She will get this one as well. This can be, she can keep it or we can sell it. It's a two-piece. I got the half lap joint in the middle. I'm not going to glue the middle. I'm going to leave it as a, portable, I guess you want to call it. I will secure the dowel rods, but not for this video. So I got 12 dowel rods cut at 6 inches. These boards are 2.5, and the total length is about 18 inches. And I took a router and I did a small little 3/16 round over on all the corners, on all the edges. So like I said, I will glue the dowel rods in. I'm not going to glue the joint together, and I will put some, probably just shellac on it, and then we'll figure out what to do with it later. But for the final product, the one that will be for a birthday present for my other half, I bought this Canarywood, and I made her something out of Canarywood before, and it was just I'll put a picture of it on the screen. It's just the heart-shaped tea light holders. So she really liked the Canarywood, so I figured I would get Canarywood to make this for her birthday. I got 4 pieces here. I'm not sure which one I'm gonna use for the bottom pieces, and I am going to try to make the dowel rods out of the Canarywood. And stick around probably towards the middle of the video where I figure that out, because I haven't figured that part out yet. All right, so instead of doing the larger, 18 inches this way, 18 inches this way, final product, I think I'm just going to go with one of those, and then maybe we'll do something like this half lap joint, but smaller, so it sits on like one dowel rod in on each side, and maybe, an inch on either side, just for stability, right? That way, instead of being 18 inches by 18 inches, it'll just be 18 inches, and then maybe this is 2.5, so maybe 4.5 inches, 5 inches wide. So it'll take up less space on the shelf or something. And then if I'm gonna go just this way, I'll measure it out. So maybe I get 2 more dowel rods in there. So I decided to keep this piece for the base. I'm going to keep this fancy little burl here, or whatever you want to call it, the knot. I'll put some dark Seagate glue in there. So we're going to rip this at 2.5 inches, and then we're going to cut it at 17 inches long. And at 17.5 inches, if I go 1.5 inches and drill a hole every 1.5 inches, that'll allow me to get 10 dowel rods for 10 flutes. And then we'll come up with some sort of foot to go underneath them with the half lap joint. First things first, let me rip this to 2.5, and then I'm gonna cut it at 18. I'm gonna cut it at 18 just to have a little bit to play with. I can always make it shorter. You can't make it longer unless you glue it up. So I'm gonna rip this to 2.5, and then we'll come over to I gotta raise the blade up, dummy. That was easy. It helps when you put the blade up, right? So I had the blade still set to do the half lap. Anyway, so Actually, I might be able to use this for the feet as well, right? 'Cause it doesn't have to be like super wide. So if we take something like that, and we'll half lap those together. So I'll do one here and one on this end. So we'll just make 2 feet. Okay. So I got this, probably can't see very well. So I got this marked out and marked out here for the half lap. So this is 4.5 inches. So when this board sits in, you should only see like an inch on either side. And we'll have to dado this out too for the half lap. So I got 2 of those marked out. And I've already got the blade set to 3/8 of an inch, I believe. And we're just going to use the miter gauge here to slide it back and forth. I marked out the wrong end, obviously, but let's see what we can do. So I got 2 feet marked out, 4.5 inches each. I got the dado lines marked out for the half lap joint. I set the blade already to 3/8 of an inch. And I'm going to use the miter gauge here to cut these pieces. There is a better way. You could probably get a dado stack. I'm not sure about this table. I don't know how old it is, if it takes a dado stack. It didn't come with a riving knife or a blade guard or anything. I inherited it, and I don't really know anything about it. So we're just going to go with a single blade like I've been doing all along. I have a dado stack over here. Someday I'll figure it out. But for today's purpose, we're just going to go ahead and make the dado one swipe at a time. Well, I got the legs dadoed out for the half lap joint. Obviously, it's not going to be this long. It's only going to be like 4.5 inches, and then 4.5 inches here. And then I got this measured out to create the dado for the other half. So it's going to sit in this way. So this is like 1 3/8 inches wide. So I've marked out a dado to be 1 3/8 inches for that to sit in. And I have this marked out as 17.5 here. And I'm aiming not to use any brad nails, so it's just going to be wood glue holding this thing all together. So let's get these 2 leg portions dadoed out. All right, so I got the dados cut out of the legs. So I'm going to cut this down. I'm going to make two legs out of it. It's just easier to do the dado as well. It's all one piece. And then we got the matching or the corresponding dados on the base. So the next step is we got to cut the base to size. It's going to be 17 inches. And the feet are going to come in. They're going to start 2.5 inches in from either end. And we'll make this a total of like 17.5, 18 inches. So right now this is 24 inches. I have the legs marked out. So I'm going to cut this line and this line. So that'll put me at 4.5 inches. And then this line and this line will put me at another 4.5 inches. And that'll be for the feet. And then I decided to go a little bit longer on here. So we're going to go let's see, 18.5 on the base. I got an 18.5 marked out here. And I'm just going to double check that because I got multiple lines on here. I'll make sure I got the right line. Yeah, 18.5. I unplugged it. Shop safety, right? Unplug it when you're doing stuff. No. I unplugged it so I could walk around the table, but then I forgot to plug it back in. Anyway, let's try this again. Turn the light on so I know where I'm cutting. So this will put me at 18.5 inches. Measure multiple times, cut at 18.5 on the nose. So now let's do these. So these legs are going to end up being 4.5 inches. I might cut them slightly big, just to be on the safe side. Make sure my measurements are right. Yeah, that'll work. Kind of made this dado like a smidge too big, but that's okay. That's how we learn. So that's going to be the concept of it anyway. Let's sand it down real nice. So I am going to take the router like I did with the other one, and I'm going to just put a slight round over on all of it, the legs and everything. And then we're going to sand it, and then we're going to call it a day because I got to figure out how to make the dowels. I did buy like a couple of oak dowels, and actually it doesn't look that much different than the Canarywood. Or maybe not that piece, but it would probably be fine with the oak, but I'm trying to make this all out of Canarywood. And I bought a thing on Amazon, a dowel maker. So it's got like all different size holes, and it just essentially has like a razor or a blade of some sort that you can set on each hole. And then once you get your piece started, so we'd have to like mill this down a little bit and then maybe angle the end, or round the end enough so it gets started into the dowel maker, and then you use your drill and you just kind of right through the hole, and it makes it whatever size dowel you have it set on. I might make another leg. I'm not really liking the way that one's so loose. So, we're not hiding our mistakes here on this channel. If we make a mistake, you're going to see it, most likely. So this one is, I think I went too deep on the leg and too wide. So yeah, I'm gonna remake this leg. I got plenty of time today, and like I said, we still got to wait for the dowel maker to come in. I've never made the dowel before. I never had to, so we'll do that together as well. All right, so I already have this router set for a small round over. It is, the bit that I'm using is, let's see, 3/16 round over. So if you look at the one I did earlier, it's not a huge round over, it's just a slight round over, and I did all the edges, and that's what we're going to do here with this one. I'm just going to do this for now, and then when I sand the legs, I'll router those. I don't know. I'm just going to do some router stuff here. So just a small 3/16 round over, and I got it just slight, not the full 3/16, just a little bit of a soften the edge, I guess. So I've already, just to recap here, I've already sanded it down with a, I believe, 220. I rounded over all the edges with the 3/16 round over bit. Cut the feet. That one's tight, which is what I wanted, but this one is a little bit loose. That's okay, we're gonna glue it in. You won't know much of a difference. And I'm just using glue here. I'm not going to use any nails or screws or anything on these. I just want it to be strictly glue. So this is the one that has a bit of a tight fit. This is like the worst table. Everything's the worst table in here. And I am going to put a couple of clamps on. We don't need too many, just one on each leg should be more than enough. That's about where it should be. I don't see much in the way of glue squeeze out, so that's a good thing. Means less to clean up. So we're going to let these sit probably till tomorrow, until I get the doweling jig in, but it only takes about 30 to 40 minutes before the glue is set enough that you can work on it. All right, well, here we are a couple of days later. As I had mentioned earlier, I was waiting on this dowel jig. I guess you can call it that, dowel creating jig. I got it off of Amazon, and I'll put a link down below for you. So I've seen them around. I mean, you can get them on Amazon. I don't know. People have bought them off of Temu or whatever, Temu. I'll just assume go with the Amazon one. Is probably the same thing. And actually maybe a little bit better on Amazon. But anyway, it came with little accessories here, some screws so you can mount it down to a board or a workbench or something. There's a couple of Allen wrenches. So you have an Allen wrench right here for the two Allen screws here in the middle. And then you loosen those up and you turn it to whatever size dowel you're going to be making. I already have it on the 1/2 inch because we're going to be making 1/2 inch dowels. But I think I have it set where it needs to be for the 1/2 inch dowel. But first we got to do a little work to get it, because you can't stick this in there. That's for sure. So I'm going to cut these down to probably rip some strips off of here, maybe at 5/8 of an inch. And that'll give me a little bit of room to play with. Plus, you know, I'll need a little extra to taper. I think I have to taper the end of it, just enough to get it started in here. And then you hook it up, you put it in your drill, and use the drill to drive it through. I don't know. It makes it sound like I know what I'm talking about, right? So I'm going to rip this down to a bunch of 5/8 of an inch strips. And then we'll try to taper the end of them and make some dowels. Do you think I should try it on some pine first? Some scrap wood? I got a piece of scrap here. Yeah, let me try it first. Let me try it on some scrap before I go messing up the good canary wood. Well, it's not really working the way I had planned it. I got the dowel maker secured here on the fence for the table saw, but I don't really have a way to push the wood through. I've seen people use drills, but I don't have a drill that opens up wide enough to put in even this little 1/4 inch one. I had it opened all the way up. That might kind of fit that, but at least on this pine, when I was able to get a little bit in there, but then when I was pushing it through, it just snapped the wood. I don't know as if it would snap the hardwood, but I can't make this hardwood small enough. I mean, I could try to whittle it down with a knife, which is what I did kind of on the end, but so you may have to go with a pre-made dowel. And I did buy some nice oak dowels that should match this Canarywood. So here's what this is all sanded down to 220. It's glued up. So that's kind of what it looks like. And I got some oak dowels just in case. So this oak doesn't look too bad. I mean, it would work. It'd be like kind of a little bit of a contrast too. But I kind of preferred to, I wanted to use the Canarywood. So I did kind of figure it out, but I think either this is junk, not junk, but either this blade in here got dull real quick, or the drill isn't powerful enough to do it. And I just don't have the time to set up a corded drill and test it that way, because I need to get this project done. So I am going to use the oak dowels. All right, it kind of looks like the same wood. I know it's not, but it'll look good. So what I've already gone and done to save a little bit of time is I marked this out. I'm just going to go with 8 dowels for 8 flutes. Every 2 inches I'm going to have a dowel. That leaves, 1.5 inches or more in between each one for the flute to sit in. So I've already got it marked out in center and the 8 spots where I want the dowels to go. And I have this fancy drill press. I don't know what year this is from. So it's got an old drill in it. I got a 1/2 inch Forstner bit on the end. And I drilled the test piece already into some pine here. So it's a perfect fit for the oak dowel. And I'm only going down just over the depth of the Forstner bit. Yeah, so I'm just going to go down 3/8 of an inch. That is about halfway through the 1/4 inch stock. And then I'm going to do 8 of those. And then we'll give it a quick sanding to get the pencil marks off. And we'll glue those dowels in. Well, we got to cut the dowels too, but I don't know why I'm putting that over there. I need to use it. So all the holes are drilled. 5, 6, 7, 8. They're all about 2 inches. Well, the center of the hole is about 2 inches apart. and it is a 1/2 inch hole, right? So let's see. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I mean, the first one I did was a little bit off. You know, maybe 1/8 of an inch or something, but I'm not going to gripe about 1/8 of an inch. So there's the 8 holes. So I'm just going to sand this because I got all my pencil marks there for the centers. I'm going to sand this. I'm going to cut up the dowels, and then we'll get them glued in. But first, I got to put this fancy drill press away. All right, so let me put a stop lock if I can find one. Okay, looks good. Good thing I used my hearing protection. Yeah, sometimes I forget. Well, I got it sanded up, 320 grit. So that's gonna be pretty much the final look of it. So all I'm gonna do is I'm still debating. Although the oak dowels do look really nice with that, I'm gonna see how long the Canarywood dowels will take to come in. And I guess if I don't use them, I can always have them on hand for something else. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take it home and check the circumference of the flutes. But I think there's enough space between each one, so they're not gonna touch each other. And then they all look pretty much the same height. So I guess I did pretty good on that drill press, huh? I got to sand it down to a 320. So the last couple steps is I'm just going to glue the dowels in, maybe. And I'm going to use wipe-on poly. That's like my new favorite thing now is the wipe-on poly because it's just so easy to work with. But yeah, I think that's going to be the final result. So we've come down to the final steps here. I decided not to do anything with the Canarywood dowels, not making them and not ordering them, just as time constraints and everything. And I think it looks perfectly awesome with the oak dowels, and it'll look even better after I get them glued in and then put I think I'm going to put the wipe-on poly on there. I got enough left from the table project. I'm just going to put glue in the bottom of the hole, try to spread it around a little bit, and then put a little dab on the bottom of the dowel, and then I'm going to jam it in there. Like I was trying to say earlier, even without the glue, if I put the dowels in and tip it upside down, they're not falling out. But over time, we don't want them to get loose and fall out, so we're going to glue them in. And I'm trying not to go too much because I don't want any squeeze out, because I don't want to have to clean it up. Well, a little bit of squeeze out. That's what this is for. There you go. So I did take this home yesterday, and I put a couple of the dowels in, and I grabbed a couple of flutes while my better half was working, and I did test fit, and there's going to be plenty of room for the 8 flutes on here, so no need to worry about that anymore anyway. So I'm going to let this glue dry for about a half an hour or so. I'll come back and make sure all the glue is cleaned up. Got a little bit more squeeze out here. And if I need to, I'll hit this with the sander a little bit, sandpaper, just to get up any glue that may have left its mark. And then we'll put some finish on it. So it's been about a half an hour. The glue should be good enough for me to work with the piece. I'm going to use some wipe-on poly here to finish it up. I've already went through and I touched up the sanding where there may have been a little bit of glue squeeze out, just to be sure it didn't leave the glue residue behind. If there's a lot of glue residue, your finish is not going to absorb properly into that spot. But there was minimal squeeze out on the glue, and I cleaned it up as I went, and then I touched it up with the sandpaper, the 320 grit, and it should be good to go. So this wipe-on poly has kind of turned into my new favorite since I did that table recently. Go ahead and start this first coat of poly, just so you can see, what it's going to look like with a little bit of a shine on it. Crusty. So I'm just going to pour it onto the rag here, and I'm just using. So you need like a lint-free cloth of some kind. So I just picked these up on Amazon, heavy duty, lint-free, $300 for like $20-something. I'll put a link to that in the description, as well as some wipe-on poly. All right, let's get started. I think normally you would just pour it on, but where this has the dowels, it's not really easily poured on. So I'm just going to wipe it on. It's probably going to be, I'm probably going to end up doing probably 3 coats, because when you wipe it on like this, it goes on a little thinner than it would if you were pouring it on. So the thinner the coats, the more coats you really need, from what I understand. Look at that, it's already got a nice shine right on there. It's going to look awesome when it's all done up and dried and buffed. So there's that first coat. It's not even dry yet, but I needed to show you. Look how beautiful that is. That Canarywood really looks good with that wipe-on poly. Okay, I'm just going to wrap up this video. Started out with this design here, and this holds 12 flutes, 18 inches this way, 18 inches the other way, 3 dowel rods on each section. I cut them at 6, so they're in the wood, probably like 3/8 of an inch, so the rest of it is up and available. I said I wasn't going to glue it together, and I wasn't, but I forgot and glued it up anyway. The 2 pieces, I was going to glue the dowel rods in and then just leave it as a 2-piece, so it can be done this way or this way. But when I came up with this, and after I saw it all cut up and mostly put together, I decided that it's a birthday present for my other half, who plays the Native American style flute. It's just too big. She's got her own den, or her own office, or woman cave at home. There's just no place to put this big thing. I'm sure she would be able to find a place, but to make it a little bit easier, we went with this guy. So there's 8 flute stands here. So this I just used, this was supposed to be my prototype, right? So I just used pine pine dowels, pine board from the Big Box Store. And then for the final version, on the recap here, I'm not going to touch it because it's still wet with wipe-on poly, but I went with Canarywood, which is an exotic hardwood. Started out as 4-inch stock by 3/4 inch. Got it cut up. I dadoed out the bottoms for some half-lap joints. So we got the legs here to give it a little stability. So total width across is about 4 inches, 4.5 inches. Yeah, 4.5 inches on the base with the feet. Without the feet is 2.5 inches. And then I was gonna, as you saw, I'm sure there's some of it in the video, I was trying to make my own dowels out of the same Canarywood. And the jig that I bought, I don't know if it's just doesn't like hardwood or the blade got dull that quick. But either way, I'm sending it back. I'm gonna do a return. I went with oak for the dowels, and it does pretty much match the Canarywood color-wise. So those also have the wipe-on poly on them, and I have 8 here. I cut them at 8 inches. So once they're in, they're just under 8 inches. So maybe like 7 3/4 sticking up. So it's a little bit taller than this, but not too long where it's gonna not take the smaller flutes. So I'll probably put a couple more coats of poly on here, and I'll put some pictures up at the end of this video. And that's it. Appreciate you watching. Please just hit that subscribe button, the like button, share it, comment it, all that sort of good stuff. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.